You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Zootopia 2 has come home to Disney+.
Let's go!
Get ready for a new case.
We're the greatest partners of all time!
New friends.
Gary the Snake.
And your last name?
The Snake.
Dream Team. Get new habitats.
Zootopia has a secret reptile population.
You can watch the record-breaking phenomenon at home. Zootopia 2, now available on Disney+, rated PG. And right now you can get Disney Plus and Hulu for just $4.99 a month for 3 months with a special limited time offer. Ends March 24th. After 3 months, plan auto-renews at $12.99 a month. Terms apply.
Hi, this is Katy.
And this is Nathan.
And you're listening to Queen's Podcast, the show about women in history. Hello, Nathan.
Hello, Katy. How's it going?
It's going good. Nathan and I were just talking about, we're recording this on the Ides of March, Sunday the 15th.
It is the Ides of March.
It is the Ides of March, so...
Watch out, Caesar.
Watch out, any dictators out there. Oh my goodness. Well, let's get into our topic today.
I know, I'm so excited. Who are we talking about, Katy?
We are talking about Queen Nzinga of Ndongo and Matamba. She was a intense, super fascinating African warrior queen from the 16th century. And I love when we get to dive into these cultures that we don't know about, like, because we talk so much about like England and France and stuff like that, so I'm always so excited when we get to dive into a country we've never been before.
Yay!
But Nathan, tell us about this cocktail you put together.
All right, well, we muddled up some berries. And then we put 1.5 ounces of whiskey, Hennessy if you're nasty. And then 3 ounces of coconut water, a splash of lime juice, and about 1/2 ounce of agave syrup mixed all together to make a sweet, tasty whiskey drink.
Lovely. That sounds so good. I unfortunately wasn't able to get the ingredients, so I'm just drinking a Diet Coke and whiskey today.
Get it, aspartame.
Yeah. And then we have 2 Patreon shout-outs today as well. Thank you so much to our new Patreon supporters, Rebecca and Jamie. But thank you to all of our Patreon supporters, and thank you to anybody that just listens to the free show. We love you all. We love you all. We love you all. Now, that being said, before we kick off, I thought it would be fun. I've got my deck here. I got my tarot deck here.
Y'all can't see it, but she's got tarot cards.
On Patreon, I have been posting the videos sometimes, so you can see it if you want to go on Patreon. But I thought we would be like, ooh, what kind of message does Nzinga have for us? What kind of vibe does she want us to go in telling her story? Nzinga, what kind of vibe do you want us to go in telling the story? Oh, 4 of Swords. Ooh, 4 of Swords is not traditionally like a chill card. So 4 of Swords is like about needing a time for rest and relaxation and rejuvenation before you're like just taking a break before you go out there. So I don't know what Nzinga is trying to tell us with this one. Maybe she's like,
you need a break, bitch.
I'm tired. You tell the story. I don't want to be part of this. Maybe that's what she's saying.
That is absolutely right.
It's about like avoiding burnout. Y'all tell my story. Leave me out of this. So, okay, girl.
Fair.
All right, well, let's get into it. Nathan, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, well, Nzinga was born sometime around 1583 in the kingdom of Ndongo. And if you're like, oh, I've never heard of Ndongo, not surprised. Not been a kingdom since like 1683, but if it were, it would sit in modern-day Angola, which is in West Africa.
Her dad was this king named Kulanji, and her mother was his favorite concubine. I think it was like a situation where he probably had like multiple wives kind of thing. But she was the favorite. The mom was the favorite of his situationships.
Concubines, yes.
Yes.
Situationships, yes.
And even though we don't know her birthday, we do have a detail about her birth. They say she was born with the umbilical cord wrapped around her neck. And that's like what Nzinga means to like twist and turn. So that's why they named her that. Yeah. But for babies born into like the royal families, that was supposed to be a sign. There was supposedly a like wise woman told her mom she is going to be something special. And we gotta say, she definitely is one of a kind.
Did not disappoint.
Nope.
Well, little baby Nzinga had a brother named Mbandi and 2 sisters, but because in history it was just okay for parents to admit they had a favorite kid, we know that Nzinga's was her dad's very favorite, and he showed her much more attention and affection than the other kids. Most notably, her brother.
Maybe that'll come up again. It's so funny how, like, in these historical stories, so many kings are just like, well, that's my favorite kid. And everyone's just like, that was their favorite kid.
Okay, cool.
Like, the rest of the kids are like, cool, Dad, therapy's not a thing yet, so I'll just live with that. Thanks.
Yeah.
So her brother was the heir apparent. And as a result, their dad didn't want to spoil him. So he didn't get a lot of affection. He didn't get a lot of attention. But the daughters, that's a totally different story, you know? And so Nzinga especially, she was just so bright. And so, like, it seems like she just had a personality that even from a young age, people were drawn to. And so the dad, like, she kind of became like his little mini-me and brought his daughter, Nzinga, brought her to train whenever he'd go to train his soldiers in the military, brought her to, like, political meetings. She just ate that all up. He even taught her, because this specific army, their thing was using a battle axe. So he taught her how to use a battle axe, which I don't think that was necessarily like a girl thing to do back in the 1500s. So I love that he was like, oh no, my daughter's going to know how to kill a guy with an axe. Yeah.
That is baller. Yes, absolutely. And we don't have any detailed records of her education, but we do know that she mingled often with the Portuguese missionaries, and as a kid, learned how to speak and read Portuguese.
Okay, let's take a couple of steps back, because you might be listening and being like, what the hell do the Portuguese have to do with Angola?
Everything.
Unfortunately, at this point in history, the transatlantic slave trade has entered the chat.
Boo! These fucking guys.
Boo! I know. But before we can really get into the rest of Nzinga's life, we do need to spend some time discussing this whole mess with the Portuguese in Africa in the 16th century.
It's a complicated mess. Yes.
By the time Nzinga was born, the Portuguese had been on their bullshit in Africa for about 100 years. And around the same time, Portugal had also landed in Brazil and had just been like, well, this shit is ours now.
And in Brazil, they started setting up these sugar plantations, but they didn't have enough people willing to do the labor to maintain these plantations. So they were like, hey, what if we just kidnapped people and made them do it without paying them? This is a high-level oversimplification of how the transatlantic slave trade got started.
Right. Like, super, super oversimplification.
And by the time our girl Nzinga hits the scene, Ndongo and Portugal had been fighting each other for years and years.
Years and years.
Because Portugal would hire these mercenaries to go in and raid Ndongo and kidnap people to force into slavery. Sounds like an ultra chill time.
They were real cool. They were real chill. Yeah, sure.
Sounds so great. And though Nzinga's dad was very much not into his people being enslaved by these fucking guys from Portugal.
Right. Like, her dad has not gone down in history as, like, a great king, but he was also sort of, I mean, I guess the bar is in hell, but, like, hey.
Yeah.
Don't come and enslave my people. Don't come and, like, just steal them. You know what? This might be another reason her dad allowed her to have so much military and combat training. Because maybe he was like, every single one of my kids needs to know how to defend themselves.
Fair.
I mean, they're children of war. You know, they grew up in a wartime, yeah.
So that's what Nzinga's growing up around. We don't know much about the next, 20 years.
Yeah.
We think she got married, and we think she had a son. And we think all of that because of what we think happened next.
Yeah, the records, they weren't keeping great records, or perhaps they got destroyed by colonizers later. So the year is 1617. Nzinga is like 35 or so. When her dad dies and her brother Mbandi takes the throne. So her and her brother have always been like sibling rivalry. Mbandi very well embodies a phrase we use here on Queen's podcast a lot called fragile dick energy.
Yes, FDE.
FDE. So Mbandi's got a whole bunch of FDE. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I need to eliminate anyone who is a threat in like my plans for succession. Mm-hmm. And basically executes like all the men in his family. It's also said that like because he hated Nzinga so much that one of the things he did was probably influenced by that hate. So hey everybody, remember to go to therapy for family shit.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So this next part could possibly just be a giant legend, but could also be true. And it could also be a little bit of a trigger warning, so if you want to fast forward 30 seconds, you've been warned.
We'll see you there.
Yeah. But the story goes that Mbandi had Nzinga's son murdered, and then had Nzinga and her two sisters sterilized, so they couldn't have any more sons. Obviously, this was so that nobody could threaten his rule, because that sounds like a super chill time.
Guess what I didn't do? Research the process of sterilizing a woman in the 1600s.
That was probably a good decision. I don't need nightmares.
I mean, your son just got killed, and whatever, the process of being sterilized has to be painful and traumatic. So either way, our girl has just lost her dad. Her brother that she hates is now like in control, and possibly her son has been murdered, and she has dealt with some physical trauma as well. So
yeah, to say that she's traumatized is a little bit of an understatement.
Yes.
So she gets the hell out of Ndongo for a while. She's like, I'm not hanging around Africa Caligula to see what the fuck he's gonna do next. No, thank you. And it said she went to Matamba for a while. Matamba will be important later, but what you need to know, it's like 100 miles away from Ndongo.
Which back then, we've talked about how hard it was. Like, now 100 miles, 2 hours in a car, that's fine. That was
Horse and buggy.
Yeah, that was a trek for her, but she's like, get me away from Did you say Africa Caligula?
Yes, I did.
I like that. Yes.
Indeedy do.
Unfortunately for everyone, Mbandi wasn't a super great leader, and under his rule, shit went from bad to worse with Ndongo. The Portuguese are just like kicking their ass. So like maybe dad was like at least a better negotiator or something.
Okay.
And so that Portugal is coming in and just enslaving their people, kidnapping their people, and taking them on the slave trade, like left, right, and center. I know. And I guess just to be dicks on top of it, they were also like burning down villages, burning down crops, stealing
why
livestock.
Why not?
Insult to injury, I guess.
Yeah.
They were just like, you know what? We're not being evil enough. And by 1622, Mbandi was just really desperate to come up with some kind of like deal with the Portuguese.
If only we knew someone who was really smart, learned diplomacy from a really young age, and also spoke Portuguese.
If only we hadn't tortured her and made her run away.
So he reaches out to Nzinga and is like, I need you to go meet with the Portuguese. And she agrees.
Yeah. So, if it was me, I would make, but I'm a petty bitch. I would have made him do some like groveling, honey. Like,
Get
yes.
on your knees.
Yes, or like some bribing. But yeah, I'm a petty bitch. Either way, Nzinga agreed, and in 1622, she heads to the Portuguese headquarters, which is in the city Luanda.
Now, the governor of this area at the time was this guy named De Sousa, and he gets word that the king's sister is coming to visit. So he makes sure to plan one of the most disrespectful things as possible. So when Nzinga arrives, he has chairs for all of the Portuguese guys to sit on. But for Nzinga, it's basically like a yoga mat on the floor, and they're like,
more
hey.
or less, like, oh, and then you can just sit on the floor down here on the fucking Fit Fab yoga mat or whatever. Yeah, like,
No, thank you.
So this story is the first story of Nzinga to enter history books, or at least European history books. She walks in ready to talk policy. They really should make this life into a movie or a miniseries, because this scene would eat. So she walks in, she's ready to play nice, she's going to talk policy, she's thinking, meeting of the minds, we're going to be equal. When she sees them all sitting in chairs, and they're like, here's your seat on the floor, she is like, absolutely fucking not. So she calls to one of her attendants. It was like a bodyguard. She calls to... It was Kevin Costner.
It was
in
totally
our movie
Kevin
version
Costner.
of it, it's definitely Kevin Costner, yeah.
Yep.
So she calls over,
Kevin Costner.
and it's like, she calls Kevin Costner over, and he comes over, and she's like, get on all fours. And so then she sits on Kevin Costner's back so that she's eye level with him. She's like, she's like, oh, you tried to disrespect me, but now I'm showing you how loyal my people are to me. So, okay, now that we're eye to eye, we can get started. And is that not one of the most badass moves? Like, I love that.
Clapping for the kids.
I have heard another story that also, just to show her ruthlessness, she then killed the attendant afterwards. But
What?
Nathan and I were talking about this yesterday, kind of comparing some of the elements of this story to when we covered Amina of Zaria, who was also an African warrior queen. Sometimes I think the Europeans were just writing these wild fucking stories so that they can make these
Racist tropes.
so they can make racist tropes, so they can also justify enslaving these people.
Yep.
A little, you know. I just don't. I mean, it's kind of badass. If this was a Game of Thrones type show, it would be kind of badass. And then she slits her chair's throat just to like show them how ruthless she is. But I don't think that would have made her any friends with her people. So
No, they would have been like,
I don't know. I don't think that happened. With a lot of these countries that did get colonized, they ruined all, like, the Europeans like went in and destroyed a lot of their records. So we have just a lot of word of mouth. And I think that's more legend. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's definitely like the story to tell, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and we'll talk about that some more in this episode as well.
This whole attendant, sitting on the back of them to be eye level was a very clear message that she did not come to play. And honestly, it won the governor over.
She's like, you must not know about me. You must not know about me. And he was like, oh, I was not aware of your game, girl. Okay.
Did not. And this meeting was considered a huge success, so even got D'Souza to sign a peace treaty and agree to stop raiding and kidnapping people. What a great compromise. And all she had to do was get baptized and convert to Catholicism.
Okay. Now, if she had any issues with converting, like, based on, like, if she had moral issues based on, like, well, this is a religion I was raised with, and now I'm converting to this, we don't know about it. Some believe that this was her plan all along. Because remember, like we said, she was raised around these missionaries. So she was just sort of like, whatever.
Tell them what they want to hear.
Yeah. Okay. Like, she knew that they were going to ask her to make some kind of compromise. And so most people think she went into this meeting being like, I'm going to suggest I convert to Catholicism and that'll win them over. Because still today, Portugal is a super Catholic country. So, yeah.
And this wouldn't have been unprecedented. There had been a king of Nzinga who did the exact same thing back in the 1490s. So that's what she did. She was baptized and took the name Ana de Souza. Now, do we think that she actually believed in what she was doing? No. This was purely diplomatic.
Yeah.
It's very unlikely that she just found Jesus in
that
the right
she was
moment.
moved by this Holy Spirit or anything.
Yeah, but it allowed her to work with the Portuguese diplomats who may have never considered giving her a seat at the table before.
Right. So she goes back to Ndongo, goes up to her crazy-ass Caligula brother, and is like, here's your peace treaty. You're welcome. You couldn't do it. None of your dudes in your council could do it. I did that. You're welcome. But honestly, this didn't help brother-sister like relationship.
No, not at all.
Because now the whole kingdom is looking at Nzinga like she's a hero. And the brother, who already had a chip on his shoulder, like already has daddy issues, now is just like, jealous, you know?
But that doesn't matter, because he's dead in, like, the next year or so. So
Whoa. Wait, what happened?
We don't actually know for sure, but some people do suspect that Nzinga had him poisoned. Which, I mean, if he killed her son...
If he did all this shit, I wouldn't blame her if he did all this shit that they say he did.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, right?
Some people also say that he took his own life, and some people think he just died of ye old-timey diseases.
Yeah.
Either way, he's dead, and Nzinga wastes no time making herself the new leader.
Yeah, she's like, I'm just gonna squeeze on in here. Oh, this crown! Okay, it looks good on me.
Squeeze on down the road.
She's gonna squeeze on down the road. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the brother had killed all the other men in the family, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a vacuum. Like, there's who else? And
a
so
dick vacuum.
A dick.
Sorry.
A dick yes. So there's a dick vacuum, which is a scholarly term used by all historians. But no, so she is just able to come in, and like popular opinion of her is so high, you know, she's just able to come in and be like, I'm the queen now.
Yeah, and this wasn't unprecedented in Ndongo, but it was also not the norm for women to rule.
It had happened before, but they were still probably more comfortable with a man.
Yes, but because she was so well liked, a lot of people did accept her. No, there were a few that didn't, because, you know, it is the 16th century, and misogyny is...
And history is a bag of dicks, so...
Yes, a dick vacuum.
Another thing that a lot of famous historians have said, that history is a bag of dicks and a dick vacuum. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just imagining, like, my little vacuum, but it looks like a penis. Yeah, it got there. It went there. You're welcome. Anyway. Yeah, so this is when the Portuguese saw a way to get out of their peace agreement. Because they were only doing it because they needed to at this point. And of course, since she was a woman, and this is old-timey and history is a bag of dicks, blah, 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 she had like some random cousins and stuff that were trying to, that hadn't got murdered by Caligula. And they were trying to squeeze in there. So Portugal backed the other guys claiming the throne. And the other guy claiming the throne also agreed to a much more like pro-slavery. Like very gross. And now we got a civil war on our hands, guys.
Sounds so much fun. And for the people of Ndongo, most of them viewed this king that Portugal was supporting like a puppet for Portuguese.
Yeah,
so
because he was.
He was.
Yeah.
Most of the common people were like, fuck that, and supported Nzinga. But it was the ultra-wealthy, high-ranking nobility that hated her.
Yeah.
Either way, Nzinga was run out of town for a little bit, and she heads back to Matamba to, regroup, recalibrate, reassess.
Yes, that's her home base. So, there were these group of guys called the Mbangala. Nathan, what do you know about, like, mercenaries? Is that a term you knew before? What do you think a mercenary is?
Just, like, people for hire?
Yes. Like in Game of Thrones, they called them sellswords. Because they... Fun fact. Freelance. The term freelancer comes from being a mercenary.
Oh.
Because you were a lance or a sword that wasn't necessarily tied to anybody. You were free to work for whoever. So the Mbangala were mercenaries, which meant that they weren't tied to, they didn't have loyalty to anybody, just whoever was paying them. They're like, they were these really, really, really scary warriors, and they would work for whoever would pay them the most. And they had worked for Portugal in the past. So she looks over to them and is like, what y'all doing?
Right. And this is kind of where the history book perspective of Nzinga shifts. Like, if her story stopped here, she'd just be remembered as this great diplomat and strategist.
Sat on a guy's backs because they didn't give her a chair. Yeah.
But she's also remembered as a warrior. And her hiring the Mbangala has a lot to do with that.
Okay. So, quick detour into Speculation Station.
Choo-choo!
Choo-choo! All aboard! There is a story that Nzinga agreed to marry the leader of the Amangala as part of, like, their alliance. So, his name was Kansanji? I think that's how you say it. And the story goes that they got married, and she really dedicated herself into immersing herself into this just intense warrior lifestyle.
Ooh.
But so we've already talked about like how maybe Westerners like wrote about African leaders in a way to make them seem like savages kind of thing. And so they tell some stories of like her quote unquote initiation into the Amangala that I think maybe falls in that category.
Yeah, so she joined Pizzagate and started to drink. She started to drink the blood of infants, just to initiate herself into ye old pizza parlor. And now,
the Amangala Pizza Parlor.
Now, did that happen, or were her European enemies just spreading rumors about her to make her sound scary? I tend to think the latter.
Why would they have an initiation that involved drinking the blood of infants? Like what?
Yeah, Pizzagate.
Pizzagate.
It's like, what in the actual hell?
What in the actual hell? Same thing with this marriage to Kasanji. We don't know if that was an actual marriage or if it was two leaders signing some kind of like contract to work together.
Makes sense.
And the European people just read it as a marriage because they didn't understand. Like, so we don't know if the two of them like bumped butts ever, or if it was like just literally these two leaders signed into an agreement to work together, but one's a man and one's a woman, and
here we
they
are.
must be married.
Yeah. Is it a marriage or just an alliance? They didn't have a marriage license, so we just don't know. We just
don't know. So while we were discussing things that may or may not have happened, let's talk about her harem of husbands.
Oh my god, this sounds like so much fun.
Harem of husbands, band name, I call it.
Yeah. Now, before we get too excited about the phrase, most of this story comes from Portuguese writers who were absolutely trying to portray her as this scandalous, barbaric ruler. And according to these sources, Nzinga kept a group of young men at her court who were essentially her consorts. Can't blame her.
Yeah.
Some say that she had them dress up as women. Some say that they had to fight each other for the chance to spend the night with her. And some say that after one of them spent a night with her, she'd execute them.
And again, I know I mentioned it at the top of the show, but we were talking yesterday about when we covered Amina of Zaria. Mm-hmm. It was the same kind of story of like, oh, she killed a man after he slept with her or whatever. And it was like...
Mm-hmm. No, she didn't. No, she didn't.
So historians say to take this story with a huge grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
Because the people writing these stories down are her political enemies. Yeah. But what we do know is that Nzinga presented herself as a powerful warrior. She worked in a traditionally male space, which the Europeans found very odd for a woman. So a lot of this could just be a smear campaign. Legend, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But we couldn't not mention the harem of husbands, because...
Yeah, why? Why not?
Because maybe she had a harem of husbands. And if so, you know what? Good for her.
Mm-hmm. Good for her.
You know what? I like it either way. I like it if she did, and I like it if she didn't.
That being said, why don't we just get back to what we do know what happens?
Oh, you don't want to talk about the harem of husbands anymore? You don't want to talk about...
I could probably do a whole Patreon on harem of husbands. All right, why don't we get back to what we do know what happens? So she joins up with the Imangala, and what happens next?
Well, the first thing she does is she overthrows the current ruler of Matamba, the place that she had ran off to when her husband, or when her brother was being Caligula coated. So we know frustratingly little about the details here, but we do know Matamba had a history of matriarchy. They accepted female rulers. So she walks in and she's like, y'all are into matriarchy, and I've got this big scary army. So maybe just let me be your ruler.
Yeah. Again, we just don't know anything about this conflict except for by like 1631, she was now the undisputed queen of Matamba, and now she's doubled the size of her army. And so
it reminds me so much of Daenerys.
Yes.
Because she had the Imangala kind of remind me of the Unsullied.
Oh.
Or maybe, and then, you know, like, she just keeps building up, like, on good faith, building up armies as well.
So she's got the Unsullied teaching her new army of the Matamba how to fight. Yeah. And she's got a home base to work from where no one's questioning her. Like, no one's questioning her power, what she's doing. So she can focus on her absolute main objective, which is seriously fucking up the Portuguese.
Yes. Okay. One way she did that is by making sure everyone knew if you hate the Portuguese, you have a home in Matamba. Which, again, also kind of makes me think of Daenerys from Game of Thrones. Because she's like, are you a runaway enslaved person? I'm not going to turn you back in. Come here. Like, come join my army. Run here to Matamba. Are you another African king? And you're sick of these fucking Europeans coming in telling you how to run your shit? Me too. Join me. Let's be allies. Basically, she just becomes a safe haven for anyone with an axe to grind against her enemy.
Which brings us to her biggest middle finger to the Portuguese, befriending the Dutch. So, the Dutch are also in West Africa. Portugal was a little bit like, ugh, why are you here? This is our lands that we stole from these people. So why don't you...
We stole these lands fair and square.
Get it first, bitch.
So the Dutch were also absolutely involved in the slave trade as well. So let's not pretend that there's any good guys in this story, you know. No,
the slave trade takes no prisoners. Well, they did.
Well, that's absolutely all they did. But yeah, like, no. But they were the Portuguese's biggest rivalry, biggest enemy. And it wasn't just in Africa. The Portuguese and the Dutch were fighting each other on a global stage.
You didn't get to see Katy do a...
Unless you're watching on when I did around the world hands. Around they were fighting.
Around the world.
Yes, absolutely. Daft Punk was there. We don't know how. They are mythical creatures. Anyway. So yeah, Nzinga is looking at the Dutch being like, well, you're the lesser of two evils right now.
Yeah. In 1641, the Dutch are Dutch and take the Portuguese home base of Luanda, which Nzinga thought was hilarious.
Yeah.
And so she slides into her DMs and is like, hey, I know you're here to do some shady shit like all the other European colonizers. However, the enemy of my enemy just so happens to be my friend.
My friend. So
I got friends in
low
places. Yep.
Yeah. The Dutch love the idea of an alliance with Nzinga. And they agree to help her get Ndongo back if she provides them with those mercenary soldiers, the Ambangala. And yeah, it's like, back us with your soldiers to fight the Portuguese. Mm-hmm. And in return, the Dutch are going to teach her soldiers how to use guns. Because remember, like I said, they just had those battle axes and stuff. That is one thing that the Europeans, they had guns and metal armor that Nzinga's people didn't have. And so she's like, we're going to back you, but you're going to give us guns and you're going to teach us how to use guns. So,
yeah, and now the Portuguese are like, fuck. Nzinga's no longer just like a displaced queen. She's got an army. And she's got powerful alliances. She's literally got big guns.
She's literally, yeah. So throughout the 1640s, Nzinga and her allies actually managed to reclaim a lot of their territory. Which means for a minute, it actually looks like Nzinga might win this thing.
Ooh.
But then, damn it! In 1648, the Portuguese take back their home base of Luanda. And the Dutch are just sort of remember how I said they are fighting the Portuguese in so many other places? They were just sort of this isn't our priority anymore. Good luck. And they bounce. Yeah.
Wow.
And now it's just Nzinga's army against the Portuguese. Again.
Y'all. This is 1648, which means this fight for her lands has been going on for 24 years.
Let's talk about that for a second, because when you read the history books, you it just hits the high points. Can you imagine leading an army for 24 years? Jeez Louise.
And she gained a lot of support from other African countries and pretty much has the support of Ndongo at this point. But she's also made some enemies, too.
Yeah, you don't spend 20 years conquering territories and without making some enemies. Because she would, if they ran low on supplies, go raid neighboring kingdoms and be like, I got a bigger army, this is mine. And I mean, that's just part of the territory when you've decided to ally with mercenaries. Mm-hmm. So not everyone loves her, but she's smart enough to look around, and she's like, okay, it's been almost 30 years now. This war may never end.
But she looks around and is like, maybe I need another strategy.
Yeah.
Let's also keep in mind that she's 66 years old. And
it's insane.
Yeah, we've talked a lot on the show about being in your 60s. And being in your 60s in 2026 is a lot different than being 66 in the 1600s.
Right.
A lot harder. Medicine didn't exist. And she's literally been at war for 2.5 decades. So she looks around and is like, bitch, I need a new strategy.
I need to figure out what I'm doing here. This isn't working. I can't do this for the rest of my life. Now remember, Nzinga didn't start her career as a warrior. She's become a warrior, but she started her career as a diplomat. And she remembers something that might actually work in her favor. So Nathan, remember how we talked about earlier? She got baptized into Catholicism, and then it just never got mentioned again.
Jesus, yeah.
Sweet baby Jesus coming in with the Hail Mary. Did I
Literally.
use that right?
Yes.
So she took the name Anna Souza. Anna de Souza was her baptized Christian name. Well, she did that earlier as a purely diplomatic move, but now she's like, okay, I don't want to fight anymore. How can I use this whole Catholic thing to my favor?
Hold up, wait a minute.
Put some baby Jesus in it.
Yes. Okay, you have to remember, though, at this time, Portugal was Catholic as fuck.
Oh, get out.
Yeah. So Nzinga starts inviting all the Catholic missionaries running around Africa to come in court and telling them that her people are just dying to learn all about this Jesus.
We have heard
dude.
So much about this
about
Jesus
your
fella.
Jesus guy. He's so
Please
cool.
tell us more. And I'm sure she's telling all the people at her court, act like you give a fuck.
Just nod your head.
Just go, oh,
Jesus.
a virgin birth.
Sounds totally not
real. Yeah.
Not fake at all.
Yeah.
So she even hires a Spanish Catholic priest as her personal secretary and starts telling everybody, oh, the Portuguese were the ones that introduced me to our, Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. They even baptized me.
And the Portuguese, to be honest, they're looking at this and they're like, damn it. That was a good PR move.
Fuck.
This lady is smart.
Why did we introduce her to Jesus?
She starts reaching out to other European leaders, being like, I want to make my home base, I want to make my countries a safe space for Christian missionaries. Which, have you ever met someone that was going on a missionary? That's oh my God, that's
not a fun time.
Well, no, but if somebody reaches out being like, please send your missionaries here.
Yeah.
Foaming at the mouth, oh my God, yes, we will send our missionaries there. So she reaches out to other European Catholic countries and is like, please send your missionaries here. I want y'all to feel safe sending your missionaries here. I want people in my kingdom to know the word of Jesus. But you can send your missionaries here, but if you know anybody from Portugal, maybe tell them to back the fuck up.
Yes. And so now all the other European leaders and leaders in the Catholic Church are looking at Portugal like, what are y'all
Why are
doing?
you bullying our sister in Christ over here?
Yeah, that's a good Christian queen just having to try to lead her people to Christ. What's all this relentlessly going to war? What are you doing?
What are you doing? Remember, this is also a time in Europe, the Protestant Reformation was like in full swing. So the Catholic Church was like, if this nation wants to be Catholic, oh yeah, you know, like
jump on board, come on the train and ride it.
So they hear about this queen who is running 2 African nations.
Not just one.
2, and she wants to be Catholic. So it's like, Portugal, lay the fuck off.
When she realizes this is working, Nzinga doubles down. She starts building Catholic churches. She starts encouraging all her people to get baptized. And so the missionaries are writing back to the leaders in Europe like, hey, you know how the Portuguese have been telling us about this queen with the husband harem who just drinks the blood of babies, totally Pizzagate. Yeah, I think they made that up because she is absolutely delightful.
She is lovely. What the fuck? And in 1661, she even got a letter from the Pope being like,
the Pope
is writing her a letter, and he says, our dearest daughter in Christ, Anna Queen Nzinga. And the rest of the letter is basically like, we love what you're doing.
Oh, we love you. What are you doing?
We love what you're doing.
You have to say it like the Pope.
Oh, I'm sorry. Anna Queen Nzinga. We love what you're doing. Yes.
So yeah, that's what the Portuguese, or when the Portuguese were like, okay, maybe us hating Nzinga is a bad look.
Yeah.
Maybe we should, it's time to make a deal.
So now, did Nzinga actually feel moved towards Christianity for like actual spiritual reasons? I mean, we have no way of knowing, but if I had to take a wild guess, probably not. It's probably more of like a diplomacy thing.
Just trying to survive sort of thing.
Yeah.
But did the Portuguese stop trying to actively kill her and burn her crops and treat her with respect after this? Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did.
So I think they did care what religion she claimed. So
because the Pope was probably like writing them being like, stop.
Yeah.
It's worth noting that not everyone in Ndongo or Matamba were super jazzed by this this conversion, which we've seen so many times on this show. Like when a when a leader's like, we're whatever religion now. Yeah. So our girl does definitely do some really brutal shit at this time to like force her people to convert. I would love to paint the picture of like this just like tolerant queen, but it's just not the truth, unfortunately. She did have like temples of the old religion like burnt down, and leaders who refused to convert got arrested.
And what she did with the prisoners. This is another part of her story that we just don't love, but this is the truth and a shitty situation that a lot of African leaders had to deal with at this time. As part of the peace agreement she eventually made with the Portuguese, she agreed to not fight them against some aspects of the slave trade.
Yeah, so the agreement was kind of like, you can't come into my land and burn my crops, burn the houses down, and just kidnap whoever. You can't come in and raid my people in the villages, taking everybody and their mama as enslaved people. However, if I got a jail full of prisoners that are like political prisoners and they're opposing me, well, those people are a different story when it comes to the slave trade.
After decades of fighting, negotiating, and occasionally emotionally scarring everyone around her, Nzinga finally gets what she's been after this whole time. Peace. Yes.
Peace.
Yes, this former warrior queen just wants some fucking peace.
So the Portuguese recognize her as the sovereign queen of Matamba, but not Ndongo. The Portuguese were like, we've been fighting over Ndongo for 30 years. We're going to keep this one. And she's just like, fine. So she goes back to Matamba and she builds that shit up. But the reality is that she had huge political sway of the people of Ndongo from like a million miles away. Like, they were still gonna like kind of be ride or die for her, even though she wasn't like technically the queen.
Yeah, and a lot of the people from Ndongo moved to Matamba, and they're like, no thanks, Portugal. We're going to follow our queen here, which is something Nzinga encouraged for the rest of her life.
Well, of course. Of course she was like, yeah, come here.
Come to me. Sing to me, children.
So, y'all, our warrior queen is finally not at war anymore. And she is formally recognized as the Queen of Matamba, and there was no more war in the lands for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
Finally.
Also, it's worth noting that under Nzinga's reign, Matamba became way richer and more powerful. And under Nzinga, Matamba became a huge trading hub because they were a Christian nation. More Europeans wanted to trade with them for things like textiles, ivory, copper, and since she encouraged refugees and runaway enslaved people, the population grew and her military was stacked. Mm-hmm. And now it's also a country at peace.
Fun fact, when Nzinga was a warrior queen, she dressed as a man, basically. Mm-hmm. But now, like, she wanted people to take her seriously while she was trying to run the ship. But now that she's not at war anymore,
she's at peace and she's like, let's go shopping. She started wearing beautiful dresses, beautiful gowns, and grew her hair out. And oh, y'all, she loved gold jewelry.
Same.
And she loved fancy perfumes and pretty shoes.
So yeah, now that she's like, I don't have to be a warrior anymore. She's in her twilight years now, but she's like, fuck it. I'm gonna Jules Eleguanza, like
Jules Eleguanza.
Why not? And like we said, they stayed at peace for the rest of her life, which is like another decade. So, because for someone who went to war that much and had so much stress in her life, that was a really long life. She lived well into her 80s, which is legitimately impressive. And she died in her bed peacefully of just like old age and with her family around her.
Yeah, and European missionaries who attended her funeral said the funeral was huge.
Yeah, her funeral was a huge to-do. But after her death, unfortunately, things took a turn.
This is so annoying because Nzinga actually spent the last decade of her life like trying to set everything up so that it wouldn't be a dynastic clusterfuck of a situation. But guess what?
Was it a dynastic clusterfuck of a situation?
It was indeed a dynastic clusterfuck of a situation. So her sister became queen of Matamba, just like Nzinga had planned. But it quickly became clear that Nzinga had been holding together a very complicated political situation, almost entirely through force of her personality. Mm-hmm. The Mbingalo warriors who had fought for decades under Nzinga didn't respect her sister the same way. And of course, some of the various nobles started fighting with each other because they weren't making enough money, and then they needed more and more power, and then all of a sudden all these Christian missionaries started to run out because they just didn't trust this new chick anymore.
Now, to be clear, the kingdom didn't collapse instantly, but it was never the powerhouse that it had been in Nzinga's lifetime.
And centuries later, she's still considered one of the most formidable warrior queens that ever lived.
Not bad for someone that they had asked to sit on the floor. So let's raise a glass to Nzinga. She was, took no
Bazinga.
shit. Bazinga to Nzinga. She took no shit, and we love her for that. So cheers, bitches.
Cheers.
Hi, I'm Cassidy.
And I'm April, and together we are fashion historians, friends, and co-hosts of Dress, the History of Fashion, a podcast about why the clothes we wear matter throughout history and around the world.
From the cultural and societal to the personal and often political, with each episode we explore the multitude of meanings quite literally sewn into the clothes we wear.
Please join us in unraveling the hidden histories residing in your closet. New episodes are available on Wednesdays, and our Dressed Classic episodes re-air each Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you listen to your favorite shows.